3, 2, 1, go!
Bingo! Happy New Year, everybody. What's happening? This your boy, Coach Chuck, the podcast pastor, Felons Ain't Failures Podcast. We in the building.
Happy New Year, everybody. 2025. We
Yay,
in it.
yay.
We getting started. Y'all know who it is. It's your boy, Big Bro Los.
Big
Y'all see
Bro
I got my brother from another
Los.
mother standing right here next to me.
Yes, sir. Your boy D-Moss, C-Moss, better known as Coach Smurf. Happy New Year out there to our live Fellas Ain't Failures fans.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
Hey.
go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Before we even get started, man, y'all know.
Man, come on, what we do.
Yeah. You know me, I'm ready to jump. I'm ready to run. I'm ready to go with this topic we're finna talk
Yes,
about.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
bro.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we got love for each and every one of y'all who tied into us.
Yes, sir.
But listen, today let's talk about something because, all right, let's make sure everybody understand that as content creators, that our goal is to take our own life experiences
Right.
and new information that we gather as we study things and give it to the people to try to help people avoid some of the mistakes we made,
Right.
or even be able to create a turn or a different perspective in people's mind to make them see something different,
Right.
so they can
didn't see
do something
before.
different, become something different, and get something different.
Yes, sir.
So with that, and part of that, I think is our job. When you go on the war, it's in order to sit in an advantageous position when it comes to war, you have to know something about your enemy. So you have it's imperative that you know
You're better.
what your enemy is capable of,
Right.
but even more, because a lot of people focus on what the enemy could do. What about some of the tactics that the enemy uses to undermine our progression, to undermine our victory, to undermine our successes, to undermine our development, and to undermine our growth? So this is one of them topics, and we have to be careful with it because I've noticed in today's society, because we're in the age of information, which leads to information overload, and you
Right.
said this before and something, I'm going to bring it up, but we have to be careful when we're discussing trending topics. And not that I mean that it's trending like on social media, but that a topic becomes so popular that it can become an escape route from properly assessing ourselves and change. When we did the thing, and those listening, make sure you might want to go back and watch the suicide. But when we did the thing talking about suicide, we talked about mental aspect, the mental part of it, what is this? Mental health. When we talked about mental health, I couldn't get it out. You alluded to a point. We didn't dig too much into it because I knew at some point we're gonna really, as suicide month come back around, we're gonna really dig into that stuff. But you saying that a lot of people, especially our younger generation, lean towards that suicide and mental health because it's a cop-out from developing and changing and making the correct decision that you need to make in life. So we were saying just, you have to be careful with it because a lot of times, well, it's just mental health. And sometimes it ain't mental health. Sometimes it's just people manipulating the propaganda of what's popular at that time. And not that I'm saying mental health and suicide was popular, but it's rampant and it's an umbrella, and it can become
A trend.
and a cop-out from doing the work that you really need to work. And it makes us dismiss some of it makes us look at the tree and fruit of something and never really focus on the root of something. Go ahead. What you got?
and that's very important,
see the
bro,
merch.
because what you're saying really does happen. I mean, because look at, since you mentioned social media, you know, how many times you see all these things that go on social media, what they like, people do these things. I forgot what they got a term.
Y'all tell us in the
for,
comments.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's going on social media. Everybody's my trend might be the word. It's trending on social media.
Trending, yeah.
People doing this and they doing all kind of
They're going viral.
weird stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they do it because it's what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, I want to be a part of that. You know,
Yeah.
and it be negative.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But because they want to be a part of something, because they want to exist some kind of way, this is what they latch into.
And that's what you was kind of alluded to with
Right.
that. Now that I think about it,
Right.
yeah. that some people use suicide as a cop out for them
Yep.
just excuse me. Some people used struggling from mental health tag as a cop out to really dealing with they lack of whatever they have in their life.
And we are in no way, shape, or form minimizing mental health or suicide, but
Correct.
we need to understand that some people do that. You know, they'll say, I'm gonna say I'm going through mental health. You know,
Yeah.
I got a mental health issue.
Yeah.
You know, when it's just you really just copping out.
Yeah.
You know,
and they taking the role of they're saying they're taking the position of being victimized, being a victim of it, instead of taking the position, how do I be a victor
Right.
over it?
Use
And
it as a
that's what we're
scapegoat.
saying. And that's what we're
Yeah.
saying. So even with this with this topic that we're gonna talk about today, because it's trending, and I listen to I seen, because I don't really watch too many podcasts anymore, you know, but I seen a few podcasts where this topic, like high level, low level functioning, all that, like they're kind of trending and people are really making waves with it.
what we getting ready to talk about today.
What we're getting ready to talk about
Okay.
today. But our goal in talking about this topic is not, we ain't trying to go viral. We ain't trying to drop on the trending train.
Nope.
But our goal
Could care less
is
about
to expose a tactic, something that could be hindering you that maybe you haven't seen, which could be the root of something. When all you focus on is talk about the
And these are
fruit.
things. This is something that it's an everyday thing. Everyday thing. People go through it all the time, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe not necessarily recognize it, you know, or connect it to what's going on in your life. And I say this all the time, everybody. I say this all the time. Every time we do a podcast or an episode, you know, I learn something different, or I hear something that a word or topic that I hadn't been using.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now I'm like, wow, that is a huge part of what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Now today, we had a conversation. You know, there may
Yeah,
be
this-
some
this
exposure
ain't you.
because I personally feel like I don't know, maybe
But
this.
it may not. I mean, you may be good
One of
in
the
the
few.
area that we may
Yeah.
be going.
Yeah.
What I'm saying was, I kind of feel like this topic, we're gonna get into it in a minute. You know, I didn't really
can say
necessarily
it.
apply to narcissism, narcissist. You know,
Narcissistic
Behavior.
behavior.
Yeah, narcissistic behavior. You know. But let's find out. You know, that's another one thing I love about this podcast, man. There's three of us up here, man, and we got three different views, and sometimes we all on the same page, and sometimes we be
we
like,
ain't.
no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it makes it more interesting. It gives everybody an opinion of what's going on and how we get things done up here, and it gives us a platform to talk about.
Okay. So excuse me for coughing, but this to our audience, y'all understand that this is gonna be a 2-part series. We're gonna deal with narcissistic behavior. We're gonna drop the first one. We might let that marinate for some months and do a second one. But today we want to talk about identifying my own and taking responsibility. So with narcissistic behavior, me personally, what I want to do and what I've been trying to do since we've been studying this is trying to, because you can go into a rabbit hole with it because it can go raw.
It's a broad spectrum
and all
of
of
things.
that,
Yes.
like that socioeconomic disparities thing.
Ooh, you
But what
said
I've
it.
been trying to do, I can say that word. What I've been trying to do is identify any narcissistic behaviors that I have operated in time past, even not coming into the future, because I want to ensure that that's a tactic that, for me, it's the enemy. For some, it's the odds. For whatever. But that's a tactic that the enemy won't be able to use to minimize or disadvantage me in this life of war. Because it's a war for me. Because every day I have to fight. And for
Right.
a lot of men, a lot of people, period. But I think for men, it's a different type of war because there are different elements and things we got to fight. So narcissistic behavior, part 1, identifying my own and taking responsibility. And I want to say this before we get into it, because I'm going to let you drop a definition. I say it later. Let's go. Give us a definition, big bro.
Okay.
And I'm going to I'm
again,
come
like
in
I
off you
said,
when you're
it's
done.
broad. You know,
Yeah.
it can go many different ways, but I have a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you big on you.
Mm-hmm.
You big on you. And most of the time when I hear the word, you know, it's not in a good way. You know,
Correct.
you being cocky, or you think you better than everybody else, you know, or you feel like everything that you got is better than everybody else's, you know, you're a narcissist, you know. So Chuck mentioned how what his point's gonna be coming from, and I'm kind of gonna touch on some of the things that him and Coach Smurf talk about, but I also in some research and I saw where how this can come and develop from a young age. So I'm gonna talk on that a little bit.
I like that you said that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say something about that when you.
Cause that I didn't know. I kind
Yeah.
of just thought it was, you get older or whatever. Then now you just on this different level than everybody else. Everybody else is beneath you. But this can be a genetic type of thing, and it's also going to tie into parenting, because
How you were raised.
when there are certain families out there, that raise their kids, and I'm not saying I'm gonna use an example like public school. I mean private school.
Mhm.
They send their kids there. I'm pretty sure the majority of the people and parents will send their kids there for want betterment for their children.
Correct.
But sometimes there are situations where they do this and they're bringing their kid up to be like, yeah, you are better than public school. We don't want you playing with these kids. That's how they raising them. And that's narcissistic behavior.
So some people, and I think I feel where you're going. Some parents use the private school over the public school thing, and maybe they know it, but as a way of segregation again, because that's kind of what it's like. Because sometimes some people send their kids to private school, and I'm just repeating what you said because I'm finna
Right.
flow into a thought.
Mhm.
Some people send their kids to private school because they may not like the academics of the public school,
Right.
or the effort of a lot of teachers in the public school system. So some opt out to certain schools for academic reason, but some opt their kids out to certain schools as a form of under the radar segregation. You know what I'm saying? And we ain't gonna get because then we'll start flowing into
Yeah, that's a
race and
different
all that.
topic.
Yeah, we'll start really going into
We don't want to
something.
pivot today.
But I
We don't
like
wanna
how you
pivot.
said that because that's a result of a narcissistic behavior.
So, question: how would you identify that behavior?
Narcissistic behavior?
Mm-hmm.
And
From
I
your
think,
standpoint.
And I think and y'all rock with us because we just gonna work our way. We just finna have a discussion.
Yeah. How would
And,
you
and I think that is the key
to figure
to
out
understanding
what it means?
how to fight the enemy when the enemy comes through a narcissistic route in your life. What's wrong?
Good.
When the enemy comes through a narcissistic route in your life. And I'm gonna get to that.
While y'all thinking about y'all answer, because I see y'all both thinking, I give you my point of
Okay,
view of
let's
it.
go. Let's go.
I'm gonna go from a relationship standpoint as far as trying to. My first point was trying to get your point across by any means necessary.
So this could be some narcissistic behavior.
Behaviors.
Okay.
To where no matter what the other person's opinion is, you're going to try to overlook theirs and overpower theirs to make them believe and feel how you feel about a certain situation. Then also you can look at it from the standpoint of you have done the person wrong, and when they're trying to express to you how they're feeling about it or how they gauged it, you turn it on them. You don't want to hear them out. So to me, that's a narcissistic behavior because the simple fact is you're not taking accountability for what your actions was. They came to you in confidence to express to you how they felt about what you did or what you said. And instead of dealing in that moment and having a conversation about that, you brought up something from the past.
Is that narcissistic behavior? And I'm asking.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
We're tied together. Yeah.
It's part of being narcissistic
And I'm
because
just asking.
yeah, 10-4.
Okay.
So that's why we said it's a big, broad spectrum of it because it comes from in different forms and different shapes.
Yeah.
But that's when it comes to a relationship, that's what mainly happens in relationships to where you're not
Want to go next?
being accountable
Not really.
or holding yourself accountable because of you don't want to
You talking now, bro? Let's go.
you're not allowing your mate to express how they feel about certain issues. Handle your business.
You slide in, then I come in.
Okay, so we've told y'all before that before we come out here on camera, we sit in the party room over there, you know, then we get together, we talk about how we gonna get this thing going and that kind of stuff there. And we was talking about this topic. I said, yeah, that's not me. Yeah, I don't do that. You know, but
Yes, sir.
God bless.
Oh man, we ain't got
Yeah,
into
wait.
it yet. Listen, we gonna cut you off. Wait, man, Spurs, when you think about what you
What
talking
you
about,
talking about?
because it as a man
Hmm.
who attempts to be, let's go trendy, high functional man,
Mhm.
man who wants to be a provider, protector, and a leader for his family.
Alpha.
There's a thin line for alpha male that you don't operate. I mean, that you will operate sometimes in a narcissistic way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But and it's just confusing. But let's break down what you said, Smir, because
Yes, sir.
you took it a different way. When you say you said that narcissistic behavior is. I want you to say that again. It's where you started out when you said something about not hearing the other person out something, and then I'm just gonna cut you off when it.
So
when
basically,
it comes
what
to
I was saying again was, okay, you're in a relationship.
because I want us to get it,
Mhm.
and
want
we
people
want
out
them to
there
get it. Yeah.
You're in a relationship. Your mate comes to you about something that you personally did, be it actions or verbal,
Whatever.
it is. They came to you to express what they felt you did and how they felt about it,
And you lack empathy.
and you lack empathy
Okay,
on
stop
it.
right
There
now.
you go.
Okay, that's okay. Here we go. That's one of the first things. So, narcissistic behavior on one aspect is a person who lacks empathy. Okay, so when you wanna, if like your question,
Mm-hmm.
what you answer your own question.
That's my own question,
you
but
that
out, yeah.
slick. But your question was, how do you identify when you find yourself, or you find your spouse or whatever, or you find people in your workplace that consistently lacks empathy? That's narcissistic behavior. So now let's redefine this. Not redefine, but let's reestablish. Because now I want us to look at it like this. So let's look at narcissism as a seed that roots itself, becomes a tree,
And grows up to
but
different things.
produces
A lot of different
fruit.
fruits.
Okay? Produces fruit. You think about a tree, you plant a seed, it roots, it grows, and then there are fruit, but the fruit doesn't look like the root. Okay? So let me give you an example. So narcissism as a seed in my life, once it took root in my life and it grew into a tree, it began to produce self-sabotage. Okay? It produced self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is a fruit of the root of narcissism. And I say this because a narcissist would, because now we're going to lean on something else you said about they did something to somebody. I might be all over the place, but it's going to come together. And the person brought it to them, hey, this, and they refused to walk in with it. So
They couldn't
a
take criticism.
narcissist, even if they apologize,
They don't.
it's not genuine, and
It's just
they
in the
don't take
conversation.
responsibility for what or the space that they put the other person in. Watch this. The space they put the other person in. And a narcissist person will admit something. All right? But when you admit a behavior, when you admit a offense, all you're doing is admitting.
Not trying to change it.
The goal is to take responsibility for the narcissistic behavior that you operated in, because we be in and out of them. So when you take responsibility for something, you admit, okay, this is what I've done, and you effortlessly try to change that particular behavior. Whether it is to continue that conversation out, you know what I'm saying, and then hear that person all the way out, and really look at
From their point
what
of view.
this person say you did, how you made
How
them
you made them
feel,
feel.
and then you say, I got to work on it. I got to make. That's when you say stuff like, and I've done this in my relationship. If I start getting like that in the middle of our conversation, just tap the table, and that's
You
telling
revisit
me
it.
you're doing it
Yeah,
again.
you
Chuck.
revisit it. Yeah.
But me saying, when I get like that, bring it to my attention right then, and I'll pull back, and then we could talk about what I just did.
You're
That's me
accepting
taking
that.
responsibility.
Exactly.
So even though I had a narcissistic action, my reaction
Is to
is
change
to
it.
take responsibility and to effectively, immediately work on changing it.
Yeah.
So that's one way when a person is consistently lack empathy.
Like empathy, yeah.
That's a fruit which came from the root of narcissism. See, when I think if we look at it like that, are we counting down? Oh man, this is a full part.
Yeah.
I think if we look at it like that, then we'll understand that it's narcissism is not directly seen like you thought out, like you said out there in our own life.
Yes, itself, yeah.
You have to understand that narcissism is the root. That's something that's in you.
Mm-hmm.
But the fruit of it is self-sabotage, lacking empathy. You know what I'm saying? So this is how I get to the self-sabotage part of it. Because you said they lack empathy, and we might just work that.
And they're not able to accept criticism.
They're not able to accept criticism.
Mm-hmm.
But this is how it can tie. I'm working it in my mind. This is how it can tie together. So a person who lacks empathy, who has a narcissistic root in them, which we all have it. It just others if we water it, fertilize, and let it become fruitful. But from that, a person who lacks empathy is a person who does not consider
other people's feelings and emotions,
has no intention
to change it,
of changing or even considering what the other person is going through, how we make them feel. And what we do is a lot of narcissistic people, they gaslight. This was going to be something we was going to talk about, but I'm glad we didn't. They gaslight, and that is you take somebody's doubt about themselves and make it their reality.
Make it reality.
You know,
exactly.
and as men, we've all done that. Even with women, we
With
get
women.
women. You know, that's why we say, boy, the game's so easy. You know, all we did was gaslight, we call it game. You know, boy, you ain't got no game. You don't know how to gaslight. And that's all it is. And a narcissistic person who lacks empathy and who gaslights will manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
They will use, I ain't gonna try the other word. They will use manipulation because it's about them. It's about what they think. They refuse to accept how you feel about it. So they will manipulate, and they have a skill in recognizing your emotions, and they use that skill
against you
to attack your weakness and make you think, see, act, or do eventually
what they want you to do.
Yeah. So I like that. A narcissistic person, they lack empathy on the consistent, because we have to understand, because sometimes you can not empathize with some stuff, and that don't mean you're narcissistic.
And that don't mean narcissistic. Yeah, exactly.
But a person who consistently lack empathy for people, you know what I'm saying? That's a fruit that comes from a narcissistic root. I like that. Go ahead. And what else you said, Smurf? Okay, we talked about that narcissism is a seed that becomes a root in us. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, I wrote some things down where it come from. Let's shift. I put here the cause of narcissism can be linked to and it's gonna go back to some stuff you said. The first thing that I studied and found out that root, that seed, let's talk about it like this. The seed of narcissism, before it becomes a root, the planting of the seed can be linked to your environment. I say your parents may have given you too much adoration or too much criticism that didn't match your and this just come out the end of that, and didn't match your actual experience and achievements. Over adoring,
right?
Mm-hmm.
We call it spoiling. But
and you have to be careful, because over adoring, spoiling the child can be you planting the seed. You planting a narcissistic seed in that child. Because ain't nothing wrong with doing for your kids and wanting your kids to have a better life. But spoiling, over adoring the child can be a parent planting a narcissistic seed, which at some point, as you continue to do it as they grow up, becomes a root in them. And as they grow older, it produces a fruit that causes some people to feel entitled. Mm-hmm. Entitlement is the fruit of a narcissistic seed. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say, and you know what? I was thinking, like, you plant a mango seed, you get a mango fruit. You plant an apple seed, you get an apple fruit. But there's this thing called grafting, where you can graft a tree, where one tree can grow plums, nectarines, and peaches. So a tree is capable, one single tree is capable of producing multiple fruits, and it's called grafting. You can look that up. So now the enemy grafts different fruits in our life. That's why this narcissistic seed, it may go in that one seed, and once it take root through grafting, it could become self-sabotage in your life. You could be a person who thinks you entitled. You could be a person who controls, who manipulates. So when we start thinking about narcissistic behavior, and I'm gonna slide out and let y'all throw some more stuff in there. Look at that word as a seed that becomes a root.
A lot of different stuff.
And then that root becomes a lot of different fruits. So you have to start assessing, we have to start assessing our lives. Like they say, you'll know a tree by its fruit. What the Bible say? You know a tree by its fruit. People say that who only read about it. You'll know a tree by its fruit. So we have to start assessing our own fruit because we spend a whole lot of time assessing
Everybody
other
else's.
trees.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got to assess our own trees. And maybe we'll realize, like, I got one tree that grow nectarine, plums, apples, peaches,
And
all that.
mango.
You know what I'm saying? And then we can devise a plan how we gonna get rid of that. But so environment, which is true. So as parents, we're gonna go past. So we probably just make this into two. As parents, you and you know what? It's and y'all got to get in the chat with this one. 'Cause I know some of y'all gonna feel some type of way about it anyway. But we said the Bible said.
Spoil the child.
Spoil the child, spare
Spare
the
the
rod.
rod.
But even that we talk about in life how you have to be careful how you like we've been in relationships and we've seen women, especially women with a son, in a lot of cases where they overadore, where they spoil their son, you know, to the point that, and I used to tell some chicks all the time, like, that's your man. It's gonna be hard for you to have a man. Because that's
Your
your
son
man.
and your man.
You know what I'm saying? You have to run stuff by him to have a man in your house and all that kind of stuff there. But it sheds a different light on even how we raise and spoil our kids because some of their adult actions, some of their adult fruit is a result of the seed of narcissism that we put in them because we wanted them to have a better life than them. I hate to tell my baby no. I hate to see my baby cry. You know, from that type of and I ain't harping on females, but this stuff that I seen, I've heard females that I say that I've been with, I heard say, I seen do, and sometimes trying to give them a better way, trying to give them what you didn't have, trying to keep them happy, you're planting a seed that's gonna root, and it's gonna bear fruit. That's gonna be a result of narcissism.
I heard something on the way here today, and first of all, when we was talking about mothers, but then when you look at it from a male standpoint, growing up as a young man, you had your father in your life, uncles, friends of your father, or whatever. They told all us as young men had multiple women.
Ooh, Carlos touched on that. That was on one or something, wasn't it, Los?
Yeah.
How many girlfriends you got?
That was abandonment.
That was abandonment.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry, how much
you
I
had so that was part of growing up with a narcissistic person because you're teaching the young man at a young age how to manipulate multiple women to keep them in his life till he decides who he wants to settle down with.
You planted the seed
That
became a root, and the fruit became what they call a womanizer.
Womanizer.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I heard on the way coming here this morning was young men learn how to cater to women and treat them so that he can keep them around. Young women, young girls learn how to reciprocate and receive that. They're not taught how to treat a man. They're taught, not all.
Yeah.
But some are taught not how to treat a man, but how to receive what he's given. And some young men are taught how to give to keep a woman around for the time being that he needs them in that time of their life as far as on that, how you say, a branch, the tree is only as good as its branch.
I don't know, bro. That's yours.
That might be something I just made up, but hey, it might not be. But hey,
You got to know that one.
it might. But you get what I'm saying here. So
I
like
get
we
what you're
said, it's coming. Like you said earlier, bro. It's almost generational.
Listen.
So
You go.
uh-oh.
Bing, bing, bing.